I'm Brigitte Quinn, and we're spending 22 minutes today with the legendary comedian Gilbert Gottfried. It's so great to have you here.
See, now usually it's give us 22 minutes and we'll give you the world. Now it's been reduced to give us 22 minutes and we'll give you, Gilbert Gottfried. I don't know.
The world thereof. Yeah. How about that?
Yes. Yeah.
It's so great to have you here. So you're at Caroline's. You're local this week, right? Thursday night?
This Thursday, I will be at Caroline's on Broadway.
Okay.
That starts at 7:30.
All right. And then some other local gigs too, right? Let's get the plugs in right away.
Okay. On Friday, March 11th, I'll be at the Victory Theater, Newark, New Jersey. Friday, April 8th at the St. George Theater in Staten Island, co-headlining with Richard Lewis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fun. Have you guys worked the clubs before together?
Yeah. We used to run into each other all the time at the clubs.
Yeah. And is Caroline's, is that like old home? Is that going back home for you?
Oh, God. Yeah. Except that they make me pay for food. But no.
Oh, come on, really?
No, I've been going to Caroline's for years now. Yeah. I mean, when I first started with them, they were in Chelsea, in this small place on like I think it was on 8th Avenue and like 26th Street. Then they moved to the Seaport, and this current location on Broadway. So I've been going there for years.
All over town. So when you go back, now do you work on a brand new routine, or do you bring back some golden oldies?
There are definitely some. I've got bits that are so old my act that people practically sing along with it, like watching Paul Simon and the whole audience breaks into Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Right. Same kind of same era.
But I'm working on my
younger.
I'm working on my new Bonanza bit.
Something current.
Yes.
I got
the kids like it.
Any new impressions?
Yeah. My usual impressions. I mean, I remember people always ask me to do Seinfeld. Seinfeld is an imitation I started doing when no one knew who he was.
Right.
He was just another comic.
Back in the like the 70s or something.
Yeah. And so the other comics and wait staff would be in the back of the room laughing when I'd imitate him. The audience had no idea. And Seinfeld would not come in and watch this. He'd be pacing the bar going, "That doesn't sound anything like me. Why does he make me sound like I have a sing-song voice?"
Did he ever say anything to you about it? Like years later, he becomes this big success with the show and everything.
Yeah.
Did he ever say anything to you like, "Hey, Gilbert, could you not?"
No, when he became a big success, he didn't even say hello to me.
Oh, no, really? Never had you on the show, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, you also have a podcast, right?
Oh, yes.
And not just a podcast, the Amazing Colossal.
Yes.
What makes it amazing and colossal?
It's on GilbertGottfried.com. Well, the funny thing is, that title comes from an old, low-budget sci-fi horror movie called The Amazing Colossal Man.
Oh, wow.
And that's the kind of stuff I love to talk about people with on that show. Old movies and old TV, like we had on, the original Batman, Adam West. Sure. And two of the original Catwomen.
Oh, wow.
And two members of the Monkees.
Mickey Dolenz, right?
Mickey
was on
Dolenz
the show.
and Mike Nesmith.
Yeah.
And, two members of the show F Troop.
Oh, no
who were
kidding.
in their 90s.
Wait, Larry Stewart?
Larry Stewart, very good. Larry Stewart.
I know my 60s TV.
And Ken Berry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, both alive, both fun, alert. And more current would be like, Judd Apatow, the comedy director.
Oh, wow.
And Howie Mandel was on, and Weird Al.
And you work with a partner, right?
Yeah, Frank Santopadre.
He's like an encyclopedia of
yeah.
this stuff, too,
I mean,
right?
It started like I knew him as a writer on The View. And we used to talk on the phone, and we'd both talk about, you know, like old movies and old character actors.
Right.
So my wife finally said, well, why don't you do a show concentrating on that and get him as your co-host?
Right. So when you guys are in the course of talking, I only got to watch a couple of the shows, but do you get to segue into some of your classic imitations? Like when I was researching you online, I came across some, I mean, great stuff like The Honeymooners, but instead with Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that. Do you still break into those?
I still do those on the show. And I'll wind up doing these imitations, and I would do that at clubs too sometimes, either to punish the audience or whatever.
Punish us now.
Yes. Okay.
Please.
You're turning me on. I'm getting this hot-looking girl asking to be punished. This is getting good.
The Honeymooners.
You know, I would listen to 1010 WINS a lot more if it was this kind of talk. You know, oh, hit me, please.
We're only 10 minutes in and this is deteriorating already.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing it took me this long. Well, you're the one.
Back to the TV classics.
You're the one starting with the S&M.
Classics. How about Jackie Gleason in Casablanca? Can you do that?
Oh my God. I don't know if it's too early on my throat, but let me try. I used to do this. David Letterman used to ask for this one a lot.
Okay.
And I go, Jackie Gleason in Casablanca. Oh, you're getting on that plane with Vic Laszlo. You're getting on that plane, all right? Because if you don't, you're going to regret it. Maybe not today, and maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
Once I saw that clip, I'll never look at that movie the same way again. And you know, on the podcast and elsewhere, of course, you do all the impressions.
And we've had on also. I was a big Monster fan, and so. You know, you can't get those original guys from the old Universal movies. So I got the daughter of Boris Karloff, son of Bela Lugosi, and grandson of Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that was one of your first imitations, right? When you were a kid. I heard you in an interview talking about when you were really young, you started doing Dracula imitations.
Yeah.
You had a little hand puppet in the whole thing?
Yeah. In fact, I remember putting on for my parents a little puppet show production of Dracula where I made the puppets out of paper mache. And he gets stabbed with a stake through the heart. And this is great special effects for a little kid. I took an ice cream stick and broke it in half so it had two pointed edges. One, I painted red, and I hid it under his cape, and the other one rushes at him with a stake that doesn't have the red, and then he pulls out the white, so it looks like he's yes.
A regular J.J. Abrams. Now, what did your parents do when you did the show? Were they like, wow, Gilbert's some comedian. Maybe he's going to be a big star one day. Or they were like, oh, my God.
I think it was more, oh, my God. Because back then, to say, and even now, you know, you get older, you get more rational. Yeah. And you start to think, making it in show business? What's wrong with you? You can't make it in show business.
You dropped out of school,
Yes,
too.
I dropped out of high school. And who knew that one day I'd be here with you and you'd be wanting to be punished. But see, if I would have known, I would have dropped out sooner.
Now, after you dropped out, you started trying to maintain my composure here. You worked in the clubs. And now, what was the big break? Was it Letterman or was it The Cosby Show? Or was it MTV? Which one?
It was funny. First, what seemed like it should be a big break, but wasn't, was I became a cast member of Saturday Night Live.
Right.
But that was right after the original cast left.
Yeah.
So that it was looked upon like if in the middle of Beatlemania, you got rid of John, Paul, George, and Ringo and got 4 other idiots and said, oh, you listen to their music now.
Yeah.
And they hated us, just the audacity. How dare you do Saturday Night Live with a different cast? So that bombed. And I was fired from that show, first
As was
of many
everybody, right?
shows.
Yeah.
But first of many firings I would get over my career. And then I did Thick of the Night, where Alan Thicke was going to do a talk show, and they were advertising it that Alan Thicke would knock Carson off the air. Oh, and if you notice, Carson's not on the air anymore, so it worked. And then years later, I would wind up doing a wife swap.
Right.
With Alan Thicke.
Yeah.
Who sang, he wrote and sang the theme song to Thick of the Night, which was one of the many bad things. And it went as follows. Mama, don't leave the lane, I'm on the road tonight. Everyone needs a dream to hold on. I'm gonna make it on my own. Running in the thick of the night, under the city lights. Running in the... And so that one bombed.
That didn't go anywhere.
So what actually became successful for me was someone saw me at a club, at MTV people, and they said, come in tomorrow and audition. And I auditioned, and they wound up using the audition chopped up, and they would show it throughout the day, just stuff I improvised. And they would announce me as the general manager of MTV, and that was, and then after that, the Cosby Show, and when Cosby was known for things other than he's known for now. You know, before the sails and he has the thing with the who.
Back to SNL for a minute. So you can do all these impressions, right? SNL hires you, and aside from, as you say, replacing essentially, you know, their equivalent of the Beatles, like, why didn't you catch fire there? Didn't they say, hey, you know, Gilbert, you do all these impressions, do impressions? How come?
Yeah, I don't
get it.
I don't know. I mean, the whole show is kind of like headed for disaster. But because I always feel like you need, like in a case like that, just like with James Bond, when Sean Connery was no longer Bond, it's like you need a sacrificial lamb to throw into the mountain and, you know, slay it, and then it's okay. And I think our season was the sacrificial lamb. It's kind of like when Howard Stern left terrestrial radio, they got in, what's his name, the rocker.
Oh, David Lee Roth.
David Lee Roth,
Right, on K-Rock, I mean, when he went to,
And I remember thinking, if I worked at that, if I ran that station, the first person I would get after Howard Stern would be just the next person walking down the street. I would just go, hey, you want to be the new host of a radio show? Because that person's going to die in that slot.
Why waste it?
Why get someone you got to spend money on? Just, you know, grab someone off the street. And because you don't want to be the replacement, you want to be the replacement of the replacement.
Did you go back to the big anniversary shindig that they had?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did you hobnob with the people
Oh,
there?
my God, whoever would talk to me. It was very weird. Yeah, the SNL 40th, that was like sensory overload. Like everybody in show business was there. You know, you'd look on one side of the room would be Leonardo DiCaprio. The other side would be, you know, whoever, like Christopher Walken was there. And on stage was Paul McCartney and Taylor Swift. I mean, it was insane.
That's crazy. So, so the movies, right? You know, when I researched like 100 movies came up, and Ford Fairlane, one of them. Did you start your Dice impression before, during, or after working with him on that movie?
I think before.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I go, hey, yeah, you know, I was in bed with this girl last night. She said, I did. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a
And that movie was, I think, a couple years before Aladdin, right? Now, I read, tell me if this is true. For Aladdin, did they pictured you as the parrot and then
yes.
wrote it and drew it around Gilbert Gottfried?
The top guy, because each character had a group of cartoonists working on it, and there'd be one main guy. The main guy with mine was this artist, Will Finn. I was going to say Will Smith. He became to Fresh Prince later on. No, Will Finn. And he showed me a drawing he made, first a caricature of me that slowly transforms into a parrot.
Oh, that's great.
And so you could see, like, a lot of my features in the parrot, Iago, and they even filmed us while we were recording so they could get our facial expressions.
Oh, wow.
And, this is an interesting thing where Aladdin doesn't die and just keeps coming back. There was an article in the New York Times about, and I didn't know anything about this until I read the article. There was a guy who had an autistic son who was 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
He could not communicate with him at all. And the son would watch Disney cartoons all day long, obsessed with them. And one day, no doctor could help, nothing he could find, and he went into the kid's room where he had a puppet of my character, Iago the parrot. And he put it on his hand, and he started talking to his son, saying, Owen, and he looks at the parrot, and the kid talks to the parrot. And he says, how are you? And he says, I'm not happy. I don't have friends.
Oh.
And that was his breakthrough to his son.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, here I am waiting for some horrible punchline, but that's a real deal. That's a really nice story.
Of course you're waiting for a punchline. You're the one who wants to be punished. Jeez, what's the matter with you? It's not that I'm against it.
I'm sensing the theme here. So when you did the parrot, did they give you like artistic license and say do whatever you want, and then they had to do some editing afterward or what?
They had the script, so I would do a lot off the script, of course, and then I would throw in stuff, and I'd improvise. Yeah.
Not Disney-rated stuff.
Yeah, occasionally they would have to yell cut and go, this is a family movie. I go, okay, and I pull it back. But a lot of my improvising wound up in the movie. And that was a lot of fun.
Did they ever they found some of the Robin Williams tapes not too long ago where they found some of the nothing, like dirty or anything, just imitations that he did that just didn't make it into the movie. Are we ever going to find the lost Gilbert tapes, you think?
Yeah.
Or, no, that's not going to happen.
I don't know. Maybe it'll show up on some cable channel right after their massage parlor ads.
So you also worked with Donald Trump, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I also saw a funny clip where you call him.
Yes, he complimented me on some job well done, and I said, "Thank you, mein Führer."
He took it in stride, though, right? He says,
yes.
Oh, Gilbert.
It's a funny thing with Trump is that, I think, well, first of all, I was like a lot of people, I thought it was going to be one of those like Roseanne Barr for president or Gary Coleman for president. There's always some celebrity running for president. And that lasts like 2 weeks and they get press. And I thought that was going to be Trump. And Trumpet's like turning into a weird movie of like he actually could be. And it's like, I remember, and I think part of his popularity is the idea that he says these things that you're not supposed to say.
Right.
And I think nowadays, I mean, maybe the tides are turning because it got so politically correct for a while.
I think it still is, don't you?
And I think, and everyone watches what they say.
Right.
So when someone just spits out anything that pops into their head, people are, oh, yeah, I like that.
Right. And yet, you know, you kind of gave me a segue here, you know, the whole Affleck thing with you.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing you ask the question, well, like, when is too soon? Like, you know, we're like in this instantaneous media age now. So is it like harder to make a joke or is it easier?
Oh, it's insane now. Because now, it's like I say, the internet makes me feel sentimental about old-time lynch mobs. Because at least they had to go out and get their hands dirty. Now it's like you form a lynch mob sitting in your underwear on the couch.
On the Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and I always say with too soon, it's like, you know, some people feel, you know, if you wait, then it's okay. And I feel like, in a way, I'm more tasteful because it's happening, because part of the joke is it's shocking, because how could you joke about something that awful?
Right.
But then nowadays, people, you know, you could do a joke about the Titanic, you won't get in trouble. You could do a joke about the Lincoln assassination.
Right.
And so that to me is more tasteless, because what you're saying now is I waited. All those people from the Titanic are long dead, and their grandkids are long dead. I don't care, and we don't care.
Right.
And it's like, to me, that's a lot more tasteless.
So are we gonna hear like really topical stuff at Caroline's this week? Like, is it like, you know, ripped from the headlines kind of stuff?
I talk about the Eisenhower administration.
You're with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna finally reveal some dirt.
Is there a new impression? Like, do you do a Trump or do you do any of the current politicians? You leave Bernie Sanders or Larry David?
It's funny because I used to imitate Larry David on stage, where I just go, hey, and that's basically. It's so weird. He is Larry David.
Yeah, it's hard to tell them apart, right? Right. All right, so let's do the plug again.
Okay. Yeah. This Thursday, I will be at Caroline's on Broadway starting at 7:30.
Okay.
This Thursday. And on Friday, March 11th, the Victory Theater in Newark, New Jersey. On Friday, April 8th, the St. George Theater in Staten Island with Richard Lewis. And, oh, one more thing. I remember every night my mother falling asleep with the radio on.
Yeah.
And I would always hear that throughout the night. So whenever I hear that, so that's a memory I have.
You think of us. That's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Wait, so could you read something?
Oh, yes.
Like a WINS thing?
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, do you need...
I just was wondering.
Do you need reading glasses? I was going to loan you mine.
Do I know how to read?
No. I'd love to hear, like, I was doing these liners this morning, and I thought, wow, it'd be really great to hear these in Gilbert voice.
Okay.
Okay. We'll add the ticker later.
You'll add the
Okay.
Now, with more than 900 jam cams covering the road, you can drive on 1010 WINS. It's the most accurate source for traffic information in the tri-state.
That is awesome. I'm never going to be able to read those liners as well as that. Gilbert Gottfried, thank you so much.
Thank
this
you.
was so much fun.
When would you like to be punished? Yeah.